Yeah, well, just very briefly, hope everyone enjoyed a few days off here of the hockey season and spent some time with their families, and welcome you back to work today.
What was your thought process the past few days?
Can you be more specific?
Well, I mean, your decision to let Derek go and bring in Todd.
I can't exactly give you the exact date or time, but as our season started and has progressed to today, obviously you start to think about how do you improve your team? How do we get going in the direction we want to, or playing the way we want to? And you look at all different types of things. Obviously, the first option is player personnel, to move things around and whatnot. And then as we're getting closer to yesterday, start to think about, we might have to make a change here. Our team, my thought process is, our team isn't performing to what my expectations are. Whether anybody agrees with that or not, I have my own expectations of the team, and why they aren't is because our players aren't playing to each of their individual expectations, and I have my own expectation of each individual player, and so collectively we are where we are, and we're playing the way we are, and a decision comes at some point, and I don't like to always, we see teams make changes, coaching changes all the time. Sometimes it makes a difference, sometimes it doesn't. Ultimately, you need good players to have a good team, and a coach needs good players. So you need to take time to think about, okay, how are we gonna, what's the right move? Recently, just watching our team play, the spirit was zapped out, even sitting back watching our coaching staff. Everyone's frustrated. Everyone's, it's not like nobody's, they're not trying to win, not trying to figure it out, but you can just see it in the players' faces. I think you would all sense it in Montreal, even going back to Buffalo, a game in Buffalo, and we won. You start to sense the frustration, the will being zapped from everyone. And ultimately, after the Toronto game, it felt like this is, there's never a right time, but this is the time it needs to be done.
What do you like about Todd?
Well, a lot of things. Todd came here as an assistant coach my last year as a player. And then I remained with the organization for 4 years after I retired, and mostly watched from afar. I didn't have a ton of interaction with the coaching staff, but and when I left to go to Tampa and Todd went to San Jose, we've remained in contact. You have friends around the league, colleagues around the league that we for whatever reason, it might just be to run into each other and on a social, or we talk about our teams, about players, things, about hockey. And I've remained in touch with them I've had a good relationship with him. I think he's an excellent hockey coach. I think he's got great experience with very good teams in San Jose, good playoff experience there in Edmonton with a rebuilding team with some elite players, and took a team a little bit in transition in LA with some elite players and young players, and has done a good job in every location he's been. I like the way he thinks. I like the way he conducts himself. And again, as a player, it was only one season, but we all sit back and assess. Everybody does it. You watch your coaches, you watch everything. You form opinions, and very clearly at that time, I thought this guy's going to be really good in this league for the way he conducts himself and talks about the game and presents and runs practices, whatnot. So I think he's an excellent choice. I'm really looking forward to working with him, and I think he'll have the ability to take us to another level here.
Steve, just from a personnel standpoint, what's missing? What elements are missing from this team to get them in the position that they're at right now?
Well, if you just want to look at the very broadly, we need to score more. We need to be better defensively. We need to keep the puck out of our net, whether it's defensively or goaltending. We just need to. It's a very obvious answer. We need to get better. We need, I say it like you need good players, and we're being patient. We're gonna, we're being patient with our younger players, patient with them in the NHL, patient with them from the point of drafting them or signing them to getting them to the NHL. And again, you're not gonna like it. It takes time. So what is missing? Like, you look at all the areas of our team, we need to be better in every aspect of it. That's obvious. Expectation is, yeah, they're good enough, and that's why I make the change. Now, I guess the obvious question is, what are my expectations? My expectation at the start of the year, if everything went well here with our team, everyone stayed healthy, everybody performed expectations, I think with this group, we could compete for a wild card spot. And we're not there. We're not far off from that. And the last week, if you simply get a 3-game winning streak, you're right back in the mix for that. And that was, if all goes well at this stage of where we're at, that's my expectation. Over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, it's like I think I'm gonna have to do something. Okay, what am I gonna do? What are my options? Do I want to do this now? Do I want to wait? Okay, and then if I do something, who's coming in? And you go through all the different scenarios, and after the St. Louis game, it's pretty clear to me, pretty evident that I'm gonna have to do something now. You take the schedule into it. You take the Christmas break into it. You're gonna bring in a new coach, like today, coming in for the very first day without even any practice time. It's not ideal, but you're looking at, there's no ideal time to do that. Well, I'll start by saying, like, you deal with the players on a day-to-day basis. I think they're a really professional, good group of human beings. First of all, they mean well. It's not like they're not trying to do well or don't want to do well. That's not the case at all. And being a player and being in their shoes when things aren't going well up for a team or going well individually, your head is spinning and you're trying to figure out reasons why, and it's frustrating. And we all are like, you have a tendency, it's like, focus on me, my role, I need to be in this situation, that situation. Ultimately, the coach is going to use each player to do 2 things. One, he's trying to win hockey. They're trying to win hockey games. 2, they're trying to get the most out of each player, whether it's a 20-year-old or a 35-year-old, trying to maximize their abilities and use them the right way. So I say, like, with each of our players, you can't control the coach's decision as far as who you're going to play with, how much you're going to play. It's, you will your way into the lineup, you will your way into a certain role, and a role for a first line center is different than a role for, like, maybe a player playing on the 4th line killing penalties. But you work every day to give yourself an opportunity to get on the ice more, and it's up to the coaching staff to, I guess, maximize each player's ability, but also inspire them and give them hope and give them clarity in their role. And it's up to the player to buy into that and accept the challenge of, this is what's expected of me. So I think there's more from our players here. I think each and every one of these players can play better, and I guess ultimately I make the coaching change with the expectation and the hope that Todd, Trent, and a different staff will get these guys back to playing at the level that we expect them to and beyond. And time will tell if that happens. There's 32 teams. We're all looking, everybody's at a different standard, and you look at a bunch of teams that are in the situation we're in. We're trying to get better. We're trying to expedite this thing, and we'll continue to look at it. But ultimately, we need that core of players, and understandably of young players, and that's taken a long time, and longer than you or anybody else here would like, including myself.
Steve, do you feel like this roster needs a shakeup at all, or do you have to give this some time now for new staff to see if some guys catch fire?
I would say, like, what are you hoping for in a shakeup? Like, just to do something to get everybody's attention. I don't really believe, you can do that, but more so, I want to make moves that make us a better hockey club. Like, I could, put somebody on waivers, send them to the minors, the trade. We can start trading again tomorrow. I don't wanna do something just to create a story that, I wanna do something that, I'm open to doing anything that makes our team better, and not only this year, but most importantly for the future.
Similar
Can a
question.
coach's message get stale? I'm not sure if that's the case here, but we've been through with a lot of teams. I mean, sometimes does the message just get stale or gets disconnected from the team or whatnot?
It's funny, you think like as long as I've been around, I'd be able to answer that question properly, I don't believe in the theory that coaches necessarily have a shelf life. I don't believe in that. I think good coaches adapt. They adapt to the team they have. Ultimately, if your team isn't performing and the results aren't there, you don't see that's what happens in the coaching world. So I'm not sure I agree with say the message gets stale. Things don't work. And ultimately, in this case, in Derek's case, I'm not sure it was the message gets stale. Our team, isn't meeting our expectations. And like I say, is like with Todd coming in, time will tell in the short term, but more importantly, the long term. If that's right, I believe Todd will be able to, with his experience and his approach, will be able to get us going again in the right direction. I don't think, I don't want to use the, hey, we haven't gotten the top 3 or the draft as an excuse for us not getting there, because you can still do it. Obviously, you hit a grand slam when you get a Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby. I mean, there's two names that come along in the last 20 years. Those guys aren't there every year. So you can still draft, you can get difference makers, elite players at any spot in the draft. So as much as we'd love to have a perfect symmetrical ascension in our process or in our development, it doesn't always work that way. And we've gotten improvement. I guess I look at the big picture overall is that our we've got prospects in the system that continue to get better, and it's not even a perfect path with those kids. They get injured along the way, they go astray for whatever reason, then they come back in, and eventually you get them to the NHL. So it's never perfect. Is it a setback? I think it's too early to say it's a setback. I'm not happy obviously with where we're at today, but I look at the big picture with some of the young kids in the organization that they're coming, we're going to continue to improve here. And again, I go back to it's not acceptable. I get for our fan base, for all of you, and I respect everybody's opinions on it. It's like, hey, this is taking too long. This is taking a long time. I understand, and we're trying to do this as quickly as we possibly can, and trying to make the best decisions each year at the draft that we can, get these kids here, and we're going to continue doing that and get there at some point. We, throughout the course of the season, even the off season, you talk to every team in the league, okay? We want this player from your team, okay? We want that player, okay? He may or may not be available, and to get those players, we got to give up our good players. It's as simple, as that. I'm going to give you my bad players for your good players. Okay, I'll give you 2 bad ones for 1 good one. It doesn't work that way, So we're trying, and when I generally when you really force it, when you panic, you make you make bad moves, and so it's not that I'm this is easy to be patient. We're constantly trying to improve our team, look at different ways. Even at the draft, you're looking to move things around and see if you can't get this player or that player. And it's just a slow moving process. And with 32 teams, we're all looking for difference makers, and and it's hard to do with the good teams at the trade deadline. They want to move their their picks and their prospects, and for your guys that are close to free agency, and there's teams around the league that are in our boat. They're going through rebuilds, and you know, try and get their players. They're not looking for draft picks. They want young players kind of in the same boat as us. So Brad, I guess the answer is it's just not necessarily easy to be patient. You're just constantly looking at trying to improve your team, and these significant trades and moves don't happen. Look at free agency. How many like on July 1, like how many real difference makers become available? They just don't, because teams don't let those guys go, you know. So, and it's not an excuse. That's just like we just kind of keep trying. So it's not like I'm just sitting here like, you know, hey, it's going to take, you know, 10, 12 years. We're okay with that. We're not. We're trying to move it forward as quickly as we can.